What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today, just want to put out some info, just some words from the wise, like, hey, been there, done that. If I could go back in time and redo how I started everything with my Evo, this is the way that I would do it. So in today's episode, I want to talk about the 5 things that I would suggest that you do before going for power. A little bit of a background. Bought my Evo when I was in the Navy. It's a 2005 Evo 8 that is electric blue. I absolutely love this thing. I learned a lot about turbo cars on this, so this was my kind of practice car. Did a lot of things. I never touched fuel before. I never did piping, catch cans. I never thought I was going to be doing a whole lot of electrical stuff, but I've also repinned my ECU. I've done that kind of stuff for like the double pumper setup, turbo swaps, oil return lines. I never thought I was going to really get into it this deep, but here I am. And I don't see myself turning back anytime soon. Here's the current setup of my Evo. Little cup of coffee. So right now, JMF manifold paired with a 6466 precision turbo, stock block, STM 650 cams, the SuperTech valve train, Radium fuel rail and supporting mods, the fuel pulse dampener from Radium, Skunk 2 manifold, which I need to just kind of figure out what I'm going to do with it. That tends to leak. I just used JB Weld. I should have popped it off and just welded it, but for a quick fix, it wasn't too bad. Essentially, that's really it. Stock transmission. I just got the car back from JDM-R Fabrication. They did a awesome intercooler for me, so that's brand new. And if you guys have tuned into the channel before, you'll notice I don't have the hood dump anymore. I went for a floor dump. I am going to be putting in the Coilovers radiator that I said I was going to go do. That was another video that I did that ended up turning into a radiator flush because it wouldn't fit with the current setup. So now that the setup is now going towards the floor, should fit now. That's pretty much it, man. I've gone through many transformations. I've gone through a few valve covers because my GSC springs decided to throw a rocker and that went out the head and the valve cover. And if I have those photos, I'll put them out there. Been through a lot with this thing, man. Pretty personal. She is dirty right now. I just got it back. There's also some stuff I just wanted to chit chat about and make a quick little video, and I hope you guys stick around to hear about it. Number 5, wheels and tires. This is my winter setup. These are the Volk GTNs, and they're wrapped in a 255/45 17 Continental Extreme Contacts. It's a bigger of a sidewall than what you'll see most Evo owners go for, but I opted for it just to see if I could, and after a little bit of persuasion on the inside, I was able to. I absolutely love these wheels. Got them from my buddy Matt. I love these guys. Now, the wheels that I have that I will be swapping shortly are the TE37s, wrapped in a 265/35, 18 by 9.5. The GTNs are 17 by 9.5. I love the wheel setups. They can turn the look of a car, and I wish I would have invested into these types of wheels and tires earlier on versus later. If you're just getting an Evo, not really sure what you're wanting to do, but you know you want to do something, I would suggest a wheel and tire setup. But my 5th suggestion would be wheels and tires. My 2nd suggestion would be some coilovers. Now I know this thing is dirty, but these are some Fortunato 500s. I don't really know if you'll be able to get up in there and see them, but you can't, and I'm not getting underneath my vehicle. So these Fortunato 500s really helped out the car as far as driving around, cornering. I have the option to really just do whatever I want with these particular coilovers. I would really suggest to you, if you do not have a aftermarket set of coilovers, that I would go for a pretty nice set. I would not go on the cheap route. I would spend the money to be able to fit what you want to do with the car. Once you figure out, hey, do you want to go for a drag setup? Do you want to do a time attack? Figure out where you want to go with it. And if you're unsure, maybe find a setup that would be able to do both. You just have to learn how to set it up for each particular one. I would suggest, I'm biased obviously with the Fortunatos, but there are other really good brands out there. I'd really suggest throwing some coilovers onto the car and be able to figure out what you like with it. It'll really open up the vehicle as far as turns, even going straight. It makes a world of difference because these Evos are meant to be modified, and if you're gonna modify it, do it right the first time. That was number 4 on my list of things to do. Number 3. I would do something with your shifter. Now, I've talked about this shifter in a couple other videos. I've showed how to install it. I ended up dipping the shifter console because you do have to cut into it. And I'll show a little bit of that right here. You really do have to get into it, and there is some customization that you have to do with it. Now, if you're worried and you're like, oh, I don't know what I want to do, or if I don't want to really make any cuts, then you don't have to. I mean, you can also just take the shifter console out, but I wanted to keep my shifter console. I wanted to keep it as full interior as possible, not go total race car on it, but I wanted to keep some pieces. And this thing, man, is just absolutely wonderful. They're pretty expensive, the CAE shifters, but I highly suggest if you didn't want to go that route, at least a different shifter or a shift knob. Now, if you're driving a manual car, you know, your hand is usually on the shift knob all the time, especially in traffic. The OEM shift knobs are really bulky and they're made out of leather. They don't weigh anything. They feel really weird in the hand personally, and I don't like the OEM stuff. So I would really suggest you get into something that makes it at least comfortable. Aftermarket shift knobs, weighted shift knobs. I'm not a fan of the short throw shifters. I've had short shifters. I've gone through multiple in the car, but I found it actually started grinding more than anything. Whereas with this one, it's just so crisp and it's just so clean. It makes the car feel completely different. Which from a OEM standpoint, the shifters in this car are just dog doo-doo. They're not great. They're plastic housings. You really don't want to have that in a rally kind of car, even a drag car, whatever. You don't want that in a car. And I feel like Mitsubishi really lacked in their shifters. My third suggestion would be do something with your shifter. Personalize it, make it yours, do whatever you want with it. At the end of the day, it's your car and you're gonna figure out your preferences, but for me, this was fairly high on the list for me. Number 2 on my list. Do yourself a favor right now, and if you haven't, go ahead and get one of these master cylinder braces. There is so much firewall flex in these cars, it is absolutely ridiculous. When you press on the brake pedal, the entire assembly moves forward. The brake booster, the master cylinder, it all moves forward. Therefore, you still have to keep pressing further in order for you to be able to brake. This brace keeps you from being able to do that. Made this car that much more fun to go and drive. That was one of the oddest things to me, to actually see it move. You can see your brake booster and your master cylinder move when you go and press on your brakes. It is absolutely crazy, and you have to keep pushing forward. Super easy install. Just 3 bolts over here on top, and then like 1 bolt on the side, and then the bolt with the button, which again, really easy install. I think you can find them for a little over $100. If you don't already have it, you know exactly what I'm talking about with the Evo. The brakes don't really feel there. It feels like there's air in the lines, and no matter how much you bleed it, you can't get rid of it. It's from the firewall flex. For me, that is number 2. My number 1 thing that I would suggest you do after the multiple transformations of the vehicle, number 1 thing I would suggest you do is actually tied. There's actually 2 things that I would say are number 1 that you should do for your Evo. The first part of that one, if I can even get to it, add a catch can. Put some lines on it. Let the engine be able to breathe. Let it get rid of the crankcase pressure. These motors are known for the crankcase pressure. Please, please, please put a catch can on your car. Car is gonna run that much better. I won't get into the sealed versus ventilated. I'm just gonna say that I have a ventilated catch can setup that's on my transmission. It's out of the way. I love it like that. I've made my own lines, -6 and 210s on the top. I love them. I made the lines a little long, but that's okay. I'd rather make them a little long than a little short. They're also some of the first lines that I made. The second lines being the fuel lines from the double pumper setup up to the fuel rail. They were some of the first lines I made. The car has been really awesome. Every time I change my oil, I drain the catch can just to see what's in there. You'll see a lot after a lot of boost. It's a really good investment. One of the best things that I would highly suggest you do. If you want the longevity of your vehicle, get a catch can. Now the second part of this number 1, pay the thing off, man. Pay it off. It is one hell of a feeling being able to modify your own car that you own the title to versus modifying the bank's car. I've owned this car for 5 years now. If you have money to modify your vehicle, then you have money to be able to pay off your vehicle. I could have paid this car off a long time ago with how much I put into this thing. If you can modify your vehicle, you can pay off your car. From the person who's been through it, pay it off, man. It's a very different type of feeling. This is my number 1 suggestion that you should do before really getting into the power mods. because it's very easy to get sucked into it, and you'll be paying the price, man. It's not a matter of if you'll be on the side of the road, it's a matter of when. And you may get stuck in a financial situation after dumping a bunch of money into it, throwing it and tuning it, making it look all nice and pretty. There's always the chance you're gonna be on the side of the road, man. Pay the thing off. You don't have a bill. That's my suggestion. I appreciate you guys checking out the channel. Like and subscribe if you guys like what I'm doing. Let's open up the conversation. Let me know what you guys think. Did I miss something? Should I have talked about something more? Let me know. Dream or do, it's up to you. Until next time.